Okay. It looks like we are live. Oh, and my sound is coming through the phone as well. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Levine, Principal Evangelist for Adobe Creative Cloud, and for today's brief live stream, I'm going to be talking to you about how to create an animated motion graphics template in Premiere Pro. Now, recently I showed you how to access motion graphics templates via the Essential Graphics panel using Adobe Stock and some of the pre-installed ones that we have for you. And of course, you can also make these in After Effects and create a motion graphics template into your CC library or saved locally, which can then be opened and leveraged and edited in Premiere Pro. But you can also just make them very easily in Premiere Pro. They're very lightweight, they're very lean. You can do it right on canvas. You don't have to go out to After Effects. And if you're just looking to do some very basic lower thirds or titles with some basic types of animation, whether it's just position, opacity, rotation, or any of the native Premiere Pro effects, you can do this really, really easily, really, really efficiently. So as always, just a couple of quick shouts before we get started here. Amir from Syria, nice to see you. Greg from the UK. Ron from Queens, New York, what's up? Captain Prince, still not on fire in NorCal, that's very good, glad to hear it. Bruce from Dallas, nice to see you. Amy, how are you doing? Jet Lu from Taiwan. John Robeson, hello. Mohammed from Egypt. Great to see you. I was just going through some of my Egypt footage, as a matter of fact, moments ago. So really, really cool. Desiree, hey, from Sweden. Nice to see you. And Timo Ovaska. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and bounce over here. Oh, and we've got a few more. Tram from Toronto. You're not from Vienna. Hugo Vega. Tiberius Graves. Great to see you. All right. Very international audience, as always. Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so this is some footage that I shot a week or so ago, about 2 weeks ago, just right outside my front door when I was doing a quick live stream on the Android Samsung S10 using Rush for Android. So I thought I would actually leverage that here. Now, one thing even before we get started, one of the cool things about motion graphics templates is that we have responsive capabilities within them. So you can design a template, let's say, for instance, a lower third that's leveraged on a vertical 9:16 aspect ratio video, but then you can actually use that same lower third or same animation in a square video or in a 16:9 widescreen video, and it will automatically respect the exact same relative positioning, just as you know from like responsive websites. And I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy, super cool. So this is some vertical. Now also you'll see that I've kind of retooled my interface here. I don't do a lot of vertical video, but when I am editing vertically, it's really nice to make the program monitor kind of reflect a vertical view. So that's why you're seeing the program monitor here. And this was just a couple of clips. This is nothing, no award-winning spectacular film here. But let me play this back for you. This is just a little bit of the suburban desert, and I've already got a lower third in there that I animated, and we're going to recreate that. So let me go ahead and play this back. Hola, Aulo 85, and you'll get a good look at what this is and what we built here. All right, let's wind it back and take a look and listen. Clips. Got some overlay, getting some film, grit, dirt. Bother to change the text the second time around. I really went far and wide, right outside my front door, you know. Okay. So again, you know, nothing that you're not used to seeing, nothing spectacular visually here, but it's just the idea that we have this little animated lower third that comes in, flies along the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, and you know, leveraging some of our Adobe fonts here. All right. So how do we make this? Well, it's really simple. And again, you can see that I've got the Essential Graphics panel next to my program monitor. Normally that's docked all the way on the right. But again, when I'm editing vertically, I like to have the vertical view fill kind of the right side of my particular screen. You can modify these workspaces any way that you want. So let me go ahead and take this out of here. We'll take out the ones that we've already made. And let's just get started. So how do we get started? Well, it's as simple as going over to the Tools panel, which again, if you haven't made these before, you might not have even noticed that we now have a text tool, a type tool in Premiere Pro. If you just click and hold, you'll see that there is the standard type tool as well as the vertical type tool. Now, we're not going to use vertical text in this particular example here, but we could if we want to. It works just fine that way. Now, before we even do that, and this is actually a new feature that was added back in April, this was something that a lot of users were saying, well, yeah, it's great to be able to create titles and lower thirds and all that stuff on screen, but, you know, how do we do it if we don't have rulers and guides like in Photoshop or After Effects, where real motion graphics tend to be created, and you need to know where things are at a pixel level, and you also need to be able to snap things at pixel level, and we just didn't have that before. Well, you may have noticed inside the program monitor up here that I am in fact displaying guides based on the frame size of the video I'm working in. So if you have the program monitor selected or in focus, and you know that it's in focus because of the blue highlight around it, if you go up to the View menu, this is now where you can choose to show rulers and show guides. And you can see that they are both being displayed right there. And to add guides, it's as simple as dragging them directly from the horizontal and vertical rulers themselves. Now, before you even do that, you've got some customization options here in terms of color. So right now I've got this set to this weird kind of green. Maybe I'd like it, I don't know, a little bit more vibrant here, something like that. Okay, so I like that for my guide color. All right, click OK on that. And now I want to set my guide. And you can see that it's already created one for me right here. Let's go ahead and grab my Move tool. I can take this and drag it off again, just pulling it right from the left side here to drag out my guides. Now, if I need sort of a little help in terms of title safe, action safe, I can momentarily go ahead and pull up my safe margins, which are still here by default. Now I can see what those are, where those are. And I'm going to go ahead and drag a couple of these right out and kind of mimic that title safe, action safe directly for this 9:16 view. Okay? And again, we can make multiples here real easily. Drag out some from the top to go down to the bottom here, just like that. And even if I wanted to do a center line, maybe we want some text to be dead center. Do we do that? I always stress about these things. I'm not a designer, so I don't know if that's bad or good or I don't know. That's why I love motion graphics templates in Adobe Stock, because then I don't have to think about any of this. I stress enormously. Well, I used to. I don't really anymore about making these things because I never know where it's supposed to go on screen. It's just not my strength. So now you can see that I have these guides. Now, I've just made this new guide. I might want to pull this up again at a later date. So if we go back up to that View menu under Guide Templates, now you can see I can save this guide as an actual template. So if I go ahead and save guide as template, I'll call this General 9:16. Okay, just like that. And now again, if we were to go back to that View menu under Guide Templates, you can see that this guide appears right here. So if we were to clear it, nothing on screen. Oh, we're going to be doing some vertical video today. We need to create some lower thirds. View menu, Guide Templates, General 9:16, and they're back on screen just like that. So customizable, reusable, shareable with After Effects guides. Okay, so this was added back in April. If you haven't updated to the latest version of Premiere, you'll want that. Now you know how to enable those things. Okay, so now it's kind of fundamentally easier to start creating our lower third, right? So let's go ahead and grab that text tool and let's just start typing right on screen. So just click wherever you want it to sort of begin here. All right, we can move it after the fact. And we're going to do the same thing. So what did I say? The suburban desert. All right, and we'll call this Arizona, USA, 2019. Maybe I'll make it 3 lines. All right. And now I want to move this around because you can see that I've already kind of exceeded my guides. I'm kind of out of range here. All right. And in fact, let's put that 2019. I don't like that. That just design-wise looks weird to me. So I'll do one of these things, spacers, and stick it right there. Okay. I'm going to grab my Move tool. Now, this is one of the things that I love about this new design. So remember, I just talked about snapping. So we didn't have any snapping zones, snapping regions for text and motion graphics templates before. Now you do. Now, if you can remember to use on the Mac the keyboard shortcut Command or Control on the PC, if you hold that down, and now I drag this around, what you will see is that if I snap into the center, can you see now there's a dotted line going through the center of my video? Or if I go up to that center guide, it'll actually show me that I'm snapped to the center. I can have the text sitting on that center line, or snap to the center of the text block, or to the action title safe along the left-hand side or the right-hand side, or right down into the corner. So I can very easily align these things perfectly right on screen. If you forget that keyboard shortcut, or if you don't want to use a keyboard shortcut, that's like number 7 for me. Anyone who's watched me knows that I never tend to retain these things. Under the wrench menu here, you will see that there's actually an option to snap in Program Monitor. So if you enable this option, now when I pick this up, you'll see that it's showing me guides just as I move it around screen. So this is kind of the most ideal way to do it if you don't want to be, sort of bothered with the keyboard shortcut, or it's just something you're going to do a lot and therefore it just makes life easier. I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to keep it on, but there probably is one. I'll leave that up to you. So we've now got it in position. That's where I want it to be. Awesome. You may have also noticed that there's a little sort of gray 50% opacity background box around that text, which is also responsive. That's because under the Appearance panel now, here in the Essential Graphics panel, we now have a responsive background box, which has a little option here to grow the size of the box. All right, so you can see that on screen. We can grow the size of the box like that, as well as an opacity control. All right, so 100%, where did I have it? About 40 something, okay? And of course you can change the color. So here I've got it sort of in a gray. If I wanted that to be, something like this, light pink, we could make that change too, all right? Real simple, real easy. You can still do the sort of classic box via creating a shape layer. And you would do that by coming up to the new layer icon up here, clicking on this and saying like, I want to build a new rectangle. Now, when you do that though, it's going to put that rectangle above the text, so then you change the position in the layer, then you've got to resize it to fit, and then to make it all responsive, it's quite a few steps. You can still do that. We're not going to get into the old way today. We're just going to use this box because it automatically flows and reflows with your text really nicely. Now, in terms of responsive positioning, again, just to kind of showcase how you do this real quickly, I want to make sure that this box and its text and its associated text always appears in this general region on whether it's vertical video or square video or widescreen video. Okay, so to do that, here we're going to go up to the responsive design position section here, and we've only got one layer, so not a lot of work to do here. Now, it can get really complex if you've got shapes and text and you want things to flow responsively together. You could pin, like if this were an actual rectangle, we could pin the text to the rectangle and then pin the rectangle to the position of the video frame. And that way, those two things will always work in tandem. In this case, we've only got the one layer. We're going to pin it to the video frame, and to ensure that it always goes to that basic general location, all I have to do here is select the edges. Tell it, do I want it to be always in the bottom lower left corner, lower right corner, upper right, upper left, or, if it's relative center position, hit all points, hit this center control here, all right? Oh, very nice, Brian Mark W. Thank you very much. And it's just going to turn it into a responsive template, all right? So really cool. So in this case, I want it to always be in this bottom lower left, just like that. And that's all you have to do. Simple. Now, the last element here, as mentioned in the description, was just doing a little bit of animation. I just want this to kind of fly on screen. Maybe it's an opacity shift. Maybe you want to use some of Premiere's native effects, like a directional blur or something like that. Well, again, you can use those native effects by going into the effects controls. Now, we've had a lot of people say, this is not exactly intuitive. I don't know how to move things around. It can get a little confusing, but once you get used to it, it's actually pretty easy. And again, we're doing all of this on Canvas and Premiere without having to go to After Effects. So, whereas you can design much more intricate, elaborate lower thirds with all different types of effects and even 3D objects coming from Cinema 4D. If we're just doing really simple stuff, you can do it right here, and you can do all the basic animations that you would typically see also directly here in Premiere Pro. So if I wanted to do a very simple, say, just position, fly on the screen, all right, so where do we have this template? Now hold on, let me just expand my, going to expand my timeline here. Additionally, I am going to place this into this other track down here because I actually want that text to be affected by this film overlay and the adjustment layer that I have kind of doing a basic color correction over all of the clips here. All right, so I've moved it down to track 2. Now, if we play this, okay, so this is kind of that's the position where I want it to be right when that's kind of the final position where I want it to be. So maybe from here, I'll come over, again, I'll select my clip. I'm going to twirl this down. You can see up at the top here, you can see the text layer, and it'll show you all the text contained in that text layer. So now we're looking for the position, the animation, the motion section, which is going to be the transform section all the way down at the bottom. So this is the end position. This is where I want it to end up. So I'm going to set a position keyframe here, okay? And then I'm going to wind this back, all right? And I'm going to hold down my shift key, and I'm going to drag this way off screen, all right? Like that. So now when I play this, okay, and that's coming in a little too slow. So again, we're just going to wind back here. All right, and you can see, again, the UI for this, it gets kind of clunky. We just want this to fly on quickly. Still a little too slow. All right, speed it up, Johnny. All right. Yeah, just like that. Perfect. Also, if you wanted to do something like a little temporal interpolation in the form of, if you know from After Effects, like Easy Ease, you can do that as well by clicking on the keyframes here, and you'll see if you right-click or control-click, temporal interpolation. Right now we have it as linear. Maybe we'll do it as an auto or continuous Bezier. And then you have ease in, ease out, okay? I'm not going to do any easing here, but I will switch this to continuous Bezier just for a slightly more fluid-like motion. All right, right on screen, just like that, okay? And that's it. We've now built our template. Now I want to reuse this same template maybe multiple times, but with different text in this video here. So what I want to do to be able to preserve this so that I can use it again later is to export it as a motion graphics template. So with our template selected here, let's go up to the graphics menu, and you will see that there is an option up at the top to export as motion graphics template. So go ahead and select that, okay? And we'll give it a name, and we'll call this General 9:16 LT for lower third, okay? Or here, I'll abbreviate this a bit more. Gen 9x16 LT, all right? Now, destination. This is a very essential part of kind of our motion graphics template workflows. Where do you want to save this? And we give you a lot of really awesome options here, and I mean that sincerely. So, first and foremost, you can see that you can save it either to the local templates folder. All right, that refers to the actual local templates folder of the installation of Premiere right here. Now you can do that. The only caveat there is, again, with the spirit of Creative Cloud, let's say that you go to your laptop versus the desktop and you want to reuse the same template, it won't be there because you saved it to the local templates folder on this machine, okay? So I will almost never save anything to the local templates folder because I want to be able to use these things wherever I log into Premiere Pro. Now, if you're going to be sharing these motion graphics templates and you don't want to deal with, Creative Cloud libraries for whatever reason, you can also just save them out to a local drive. Another reason to save to local drive, if you're going to be packaging these things up, archiving them, saving them, and you want kind of that, it's the equivalent of just having the physical copy, a .MOGRT file. That's why you'd save to local drive, okay? I do this a lot. Sometimes I just like to archive them just in case, just so I can have my folder filled with them. You can always install them directly into the EGP. So local drive makes a lot of sense. But The thing that I do the most is save them to a Creative Cloud library. This ensures that I can access these wherever I log in, so they'll always follow me. And if I have a shared library, and I talk about this a lot, like I do a lot of collaborations with my buddies Terry White, Rufus Deutschler, Paul Tranny. We have some shared, in fact, you can see them in here. Here's my shared library with Terry White. If I place it in there, it'll always be there. And if Terry's on his machine right now, doesn't matter what app he's in, if he happened to twirl down the motion graphics template section, it'll appear there. It just appears there. So, but I'm going to save this one just for me in my chosen library here, which is aptly titled Jason's Library. Go ahead and choose that. You can give it some keywords if you want, okay? Now, there's some compatibility things here. You can warn if it uses fonts that aren't available with Adobe Fonts. I'm going to show you just one thing there. One reason to use Adobe Fonts, formerly Typekit, they can always sync on anybody's machine anywhere, so they'll always display properly. That's the benefit. If you're an organization and you use custom fonts, can you use custom fonts for MOGRTs? Of course. But then whomever you're sharing this with needs to also have that custom font installed. It's that simple. So if you use Adobe Fonts, it will always display properly. You're guaranteed, we don't guarantee a lot of things in this world, you're guaranteed it's going to display properly, because even if the user doesn't have it synchronized, they'll get a message, hey, you don't have this font as Fat Frank. You don't have Fat Frank on your system. Would you like me to synchronize it? Okay, it synchronizes, it displays properly, all right? So that's really, really wonderful. And you can see there's even some options here. You know, if you built this in After Effects, warn me if this wasn't compatible with Premiere Rush, something like that, okay? Click OK, Gen 9X16 LT. It does its thing. And now if I go into Browse inside the Essential Graphics panel, and you can see that I'm now viewing my local folder, but as well as my JSON library. Now you're seeing all of the various templates that I've built over the years in their respective aspect ratios, by the way. And here is the one we just made, Gen 916 LT, all right? So I can take this and I can drag it down in here, okay? And now it has all the animation, just as we did before, but it's fully editable. So again, I can take my text tool, I can say, you know, thanks for watching, right? Wind it back. Right? All the animation, the bounding box, all of that stuff is still there. It's a little harder to see now because the opacity was so light. We could, by the way, change that too. All the properties of this can be modified in any instance of this particular graphic here, all right? And if we go back to the original, you can see that it has the original text applied, all right? Really cool. So that's it. Creating responsive, animated, motion graphics templates. Oh, and I was going to show you fonts just real quickly. So again, when you're choosing your font for building your motion graphics template, if we go under text here, you'll see that you have access to the same font menu that you're familiar with from Photoshop, from Illustrator, from InDesign, from After Effects, now from all of our Adobe properties. You can see all of the fonts installed on your system, you know, including all of your system fonts, etc. But you can also filter by Adobe Fonts, formerly Typekit, or your favorites. So do I have any favorites on this system? I haven't favorited any on this particular machine. If I just want to see my Adobe fonts, I usually go with those because I know that those will always display properly. Also, I just have a series of fonts, you know, courtesy of all my designer friends that I know these are the ones that are going to work, they're going to look good, and there's kind of the modern ones that I should be using. I told you, I have terrible font anxiety. So in this case, it was Fat Frank, Font Frank, very good. Okay, so that's it. That's choosing your font, using Adobe Fonts, synchronizing them, saving them locally, saving them to the local template folder on the actual machine you're working on, or using Creative Cloud libraries. So let's go ahead and bounce over to the chat real quickly and see if we've got any questions there. And if not, I am going to send you all on your way very, very briefly. All right, let's see what we've got here. Okay, hold on just a second. All right, Manos, Hugo, Pascal, Fred Parr, Tram from Toronto, thank you so much for watching. WC Shields, Robert, Murat from Iraq, Alex from Tyler, Texas, Cliff from Zimbabwe. Wow, so many. So many, so many. All right. All right, Cullen Brooks, very nice. Cullen, this is live right now, yes. Jimmy Pichard, bonjour from Paris. All right. Okay, doesn't look like there's too many questions about motion graphics templates. Let me pop over to YouTube and see. What's up, Hans Aguilar from Guatemala? Aylin Rick, Arizona. F. Smidic, how are you doing? Warangal, Gibosh. Michael Harris. Evil Cerise, how are you? All right. Ron Jones, what's going on? Yes, totally. And this makes you absolutely more proficient because you can just, and more efficient because you can just do it real easily, right? So simple. Phil Goodman, some fonts seem very soft but render fine. Any ideas? If the font is looking soft or pixelated on your screen, it is possible that you have your fractional pause resolution set to something other than full. Fonts typically tend to look very, very sharp on my screen here, but again, if you've got those settings modified, I imagine they could look soft. Here, I'll just show you where that is very quickly here. All right, if we just take a look down here at the bottom of the program monitor, again, if we go to the wrench menu, you have fractional playback and pause. So I have my playback. Currently, I've got everything on full because it's just playing 1080. But your pause resolution is also at full. If you had it at quarter or half, for instance, if you notice just when I did that, everything on screen got a little soft and fuzzy, including the text, right? So this can definitely affect how it displays on screen, but it'll render fine. That's just effectively just making it so that there's less load on the system when you are, playing back and pausing. Typically, I'll always leave pause at full anyway, but if I go back to full quality here, you'll notice that everything sharpens up again real nicely, okay? So that could potentially be why you were seeing that strange resolution on the font. Okay. Okay. Thanks, bud. Okay. All right. Okay, everybody. Well, let's see if we can go back to a couple more. Hugo Vega, when I was adding easing to the keyframes, did I use a shortcut key to zoom in? Are you talking about when I was actually adding the keyframes? You're talking about this zoom, this type of zoom here? So this is just, that zoom is just a function of the OS under accessibility. If I wanted to, zoom the text on screen, you could do that with scale and position. I'm not sure if that's actually your question, but I hope so. Jose Faria from Brazil, thank you very much. Uncle Mikey from the Bronx, good to see you. Pascal, merci. De rien. Murat, cool, all right. Greg Beecher, thank you very much. Okay, let's see if we've got any more. Okay. Let's see. Tram, with digital screens having thin bezel these days, do we still need the action safe box? I mean, in theory, not really, right? Those, in terms of, there's reasons why if you've got certain graphics oriented on screen, I would never put something right to the edge, just as I would never mix audio right to, negative 0.1 decibels. Theoretically, you don't really need it. But again, it's kind of a good practice just to make sure that you don't put things right at the edge necessarily, unless it's meant to be, a plate that's occupying the entire screen. But for graphics and things, Well, it depends, right? I mean, it can still go to the edge if it's like a lower third. Really, these are more necessary if you're authoring like a Blu-ray, right? That's where the action safe in particular and the title safe matters, because if you don't use those, you will very easily create buttons and things that are off screen. So particularly, it doesn't matter what kind of screen you're working with. So it's more of a guide so that things are kind of in range. Again, you can really kind of do it however you want, all right? Thibaut, how are you? Demetris, hello from Greece. Okay. Elliot, yes. The benefits of having a very crisp and clear condenser microphone, right? All right, Phil's saying it's soft on the timeline on full. I don't know. I don't know why you'd be seeing that, honestly. I can't say I've seen that. But you're saying they render fine, so I wonder, perhaps are you doing scaling in some other way? In other words, outside of the text scale, are you scaling perhaps from the motion section up here? Something like that? Because I could imagine here, let me see if I can do it. If I scale it from here, I mean, that's starting to look a little soft to me. Not crazy soft. Oh, you can't really tell there, but it is a little softer. So if you're scaling from motion instead of the scale under, as part of the text block here, as part of the text layer in Essential Graphics, I imagine that could create a softer text layer. Maybe something to think about. All right. Universal Mouse. Thank you. Oh, Emmerich Gerald, thank you very much. Okay. Tram, you're very kind. All right. Michelangelo, is there a strobe effect without the light flash like skipping frames? I don't think we have a native strobe. Oh, we do. We have strobe light. There is a strobe light effect. I don't know if I've ever used this. What does this even look like? I wonder. No idea. I don't know what that's going to do on here. Let's see. What? Okay. Here, let's see. What properties does it have? Oh, okay. Well, it's got a lot. So yeah, we do have a strobe light effect. Operates on color. Makes layer transparent. Oh, cool. All right. Strobe operator, copy, add, subtract, multiply, difference. Oh, look, you've got all kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, I haven't played with this, so I don't know. I would like duration, period in seconds, strobe probability. Now, let's see what we can do with this. Strobe duration, I'd want that really, really short. Anything. I just messed that up. Okay. Well, you'll have to play around, but there is a strobe effect, so I would give it a shot. Give it a try. The other thing, of course, is that I'm using, like, for instance, some of these, some of the little light leaks and things. You can see these are actual overlays that I purchased a long time ago from Rampant Design. But yeah, give the strobe effect a try. Never used it. All right. Thanks, Michael. All right, everyone. Well, that is all the time I have today. So thank you so much for joining me. Apologies for the little audio anomalies in the background, but that's live, doing it from the home studio sometimes. I need to add more soundproofing to that door, evidently. All right. It's high-pitched. It's hard. It's really hard to block high-pitched noise. All right. So with that, have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and we will see you again next time. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.